Welcome to London Midland. Today I want to talk about when they previously ran the franchise from the 11th of November 2007 to the 9th of December 2017. About what the service was like, how good and poor the trains were, and everything else that was up to date. Welcome to London Midland once again. This is a Class 350-2, the image, which brands to be set number 350252. I'm going to talk to you today about the rolling stocks, the fleets, and what services they were running to and from, and what day services they were running on as well. But first, I'm going to talk to you about which parent company it was part of, as I show you the information down next. About London Midland, it took over the franchise from the 11th of November 2007 to the 10th of December 2017, which they started West Midlands trains from that date, the 10th of December 2017. Their last day was on the 9th of December 2017. London Midland was part of Govia, their parent company, as reporting mark LM, standing for London Midland, Lima Mike. The previous trains in the franchise was Central Trains and Silver Link, which branded to be Class 170s, 153s, 158s, 350-1s, and much more. Half of them got transferred over to London Midland, but unfortunately the Class 156s didn't at all, as they went to East Midlands trains instead to maximise the capacity and make the services more reliable, including the Class 158s as well. This is London Midland's route map of where the trains travel to and from. I'm going to show you the rolling stock of where these trains travel to and from on this network map. Class 139 Parry People Movers. I'm not going to talk about that because that's just a rail car. That's a shuttle train. That runs Stourbridge Town Line. Just two of those trains, just one coach, drive up to 40 miles per hour. They only just travel in between Stourbridge Junction and Stourbridge Town. Right. The Class 150 Sprinter and 153 Super Sprinters were the ones that have been built in the late 1980s. The Class 150 Sprinters have been running the service now for 35 years in grand total. That includes all other Sprinters, not just the 150-1s. Class 150-1 had three of those trains in stock: 150, 105, 107 and 109. Those trains ran between Birmingham New Street and Hereford on weekdays with one train. The Class 150 also ran between Bletchley and Bedford, running one train per hour in both directions on the Marston Vale line, and they only had two coaches for this one. The Class 153 Super Sprinters, and this is going to be more interesting. The Class 153 Super Sprinters were coupled up to the Class 170 Turbo Stars quite a lot to increase the capacity, because obviously they needed more coaches for people and communicating to and from work. The Class 153 Super Sprinters ran the services between Birmingham New Street and Hereford, Birmingham New Street and Rugeley Trent Valley. On the Snow Hill line, sometimes they used to run between Birmingham New Street and Shrewsbury, but they've took that off now, as the Class 170 Turbo Stars run that line only. And plus, its speed and its acceleration and its reliability to run the line is more smoother. And more coaches on there as well makes it a lot easier. Those Class 153 Super Sprinters only have one coach. And I'm going to talk to you about Arriva Trains Wales in a bit as well. Oh, and there's one more thing I nearly forgot. The Class 153 Super Sprinters also run between Coventry and Nuneaton. I nearly forgot about that as well. They run between Coventry and Nuneaton. They used to run between Coventry and Leamington Spa when they took into West Midlands Railway in summer 2018 when Kenilworth opened their station, since in the 1900s area in the 20th century, as they closed it down, as people weren't using that station anymore. But they decided to reopen it again, so they used the Coventry to Leamington Spa West Midlands Railway route, but now we're replaced by 172-0s or -2s or -3s. And there's also another station I forgot to mention as well that they use on the line for the Class 153 Super Sprinters, the Marston Vale line, sometimes with the Class 150 Sprinters, between Bletchley and Bedford. Class 170-5s and -6s, Turbo Stars. They travel up to 100 miles per hour, and they run the line between Birmingham New Street and Hereford, Birmingham New Street to Regent Valley, and Birmingham New Street to Shrewsbury, sometimes the Snow Hill lines as well. The Class 170-5s have 17 trains in total of 2 coaches, between 5:01 and 5:17. That's the Class 170s. The 170-6s comply with 3 coaches, with 6 in grand total, between 170-630 and 635. Birmingham New Street to Hereford, Birmingham New Street to Rugeley Trent Valley run 7 days a week, between Monday and Sunday. Birmingham New Street to Hereford had trains running down that direction on a Sunday. 1 train every 2 hours running the service, and that is very, very poor. Birmingham New Street to Rugeley Trent Valley every hour, which ain't a big deal. Birmingham New Street to Shrewsbury didn't run a service at all every Sunday. They only ran Monday to Saturday, and it was very poor. They left Arriva Trains Wales to run between Wolverhampton and Shrewsbury every 2 hours at 6 past the hour on the odd hours until the last one, and that was a Class 153 Super Sprinter running it. And then it left to the Class 175 and then the Class 158 to run between Shrewsbury and Wolverhampton all stops. And if the all stops got cancelled, the additional stops for the Chester or from Chester going into Wolverhampton would call all stops additionally to make up for the cancellation of waiting another 2 hours. Cost for the air show for London Midland added onto that list to maximise and get extra passengers to and from the event a lot quicker from their stations and destinations, instead of waiting every 2 hours for the train to and from Cosford. Also, the Class 170s run at a great speed. It's reliable, it's flexible, smooth, and doesn't mess up at all. The Class 170-5s are the ones that get coupled up to the 153s quite a lot for the Birmingham New Street to Hereford and Birmingham New Street to Rugeley Trent Valley. Sometimes they run 3 coaches for the Class 170-6s, but most of the time it's the -5s on the Rugeley line running that route. Class 172-2s and -3s eras. They're not called Turbo Stars, but they're part of the family. They're actually called eras. They run at the Snow Hill lines frequently and replace the Class 150 Sprinters, all of them, from 2011. That's to improve their capacity and make the trains more comfortable, extra coaches as well. Sometimes I've run between Birmingham New Street and Hereford to maximise the top speed of 100 miles per hour and also get passengers to and from the destinations a lot quicker and make the trains a lot more reliable and more space too. The Class 319-0s, 2s and 4s ran on the Abbey line between St Albans Abbey and Watford Junction. They ran up to 45 minutes running the line between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey. Or is it St Albans City? I'm not sure. It should be St Albans Abbey. Sometimes have run between London Euston and Tring, Milton Keynes Central and Northampton. Those trains have been running between those destinations. And they've only got 7 of those trains running that route on the network at 4 coaches, 100 miles per hour top speed. They've been running the service now for over 30 years and they're soon to be scrapped. Class 323 refurbs, as they call it, run between Redditch and Lichfield Trent Valley, or most of the time they run from Longbridge to Lichfield Trent Valley, terminating as far as 4X as well, and they're frequent 10-minute service as they run every 10 minutes. They run between Birmingham New Street and Walsall, Birmingham New Street and Wolverhampton, and Birmingham New Street to Birmingham International. Walsall to Wolverhampton via Birmingham New Street is mostly the Class 323s running that line. There are 26 of them fleeted between 323 201 and 222, 240 to 243. They have 3 coaches. They have green seats, 2x3 seats, as it's very uncomfortable and it's hard for passengers to get through the train from one coach to the other, as seats are taking up the space and the standing capacity as well. And it was a very drafty train, as the windows and the doors had very much of a high wind you could hear as well. The Class 350-1s, 2s, 3s are the trains that run between London Euston and terminating as far as Tring, Milton Keynes Central and Northampton, which is their main depot. They run frequently on Mondays to Saturdays, half on a Sunday service. London Euston to Birmingham New Street is every 20 minutes Monday to Saturday, every 60 minutes for Sunday, and they go via Northampton. London Euston to Crewe via the Trent Valley and Stoke-on-Trent every 60 minutes Mondays to Saturdays. Sundays it goes via Northampton, Trent Valley and Stoke-on-Trent from London Euston to Crewe. Birmingham New Street to Liverpool Line Street in between direction, 2 trains per hour, running between 35 to 25 minutes. It's running 01 past, 36 past from New Street to Lime Street. 2 trains per hour on a Monday to Saturday, running in between direction. 1 every Sunday. That runs between Birmingham New Street and Liverpool Lime Street. Acton Bridge is the one that doesn't call at every Sunday and is the least used station, which they haven't been calling at the station quite a lot. Norton Bridge, Wedgwood, Barlaston are the stations that have been taken off years back as they don't use it anymore. So they've took those stations off and they've left to Stone, which is still on, and then Stoke-on-Trent after Stafford in between directions. There is a rail replacement bus that operates London Midland, which I think it still does now, for London North Western Railway, or I think they've withdrawn it. The number 14 bus runs from Stafford to Hanley bus station in Stoke-on-Trent, calls at Norton Bridge, Stone, which is opposite of where you're on the high street and not far from the train station, Barlaston, Wedgwood, Stoke-on-Trent train station and Hanley bus station. That's the D and G bus they run on the route in between direction. They don't come that frequent, they come every over hour at least. They don't run on a Sunday, as you should know, because obviously it's a Sunday timetable. D&G do not run all the services on a Sunday. The 350-1s and 3s travel up to a top speed of 110 miles per hour. The 350-1s used to be 100 miles per hour back in 2005 to 2007, and then it got uprated when it was London Midland franchise. It got uprated to 110 miles per hour to reduce the time on the West Coast Main Line and to get trains there a lot faster, as you've got tilting Pendolinos, Super Voyagers that are part of Virgin Trains running in between direction. And at 110 miles per hour, you have to go very fast, as the Pendolinos, Super Voyagers tilt fast at 125 miles per hour as their maximum speed. 110 miles per hour is fast enough, gets them there a lot quicker, more reliable, and is a smooth, comfortable journey too. The Class 350-2s have a 2x3 seats in standard class coaches. They have a first class coach. Same with the -1s and 3s as well. The 350-2s have 2x3 seats, but it was the most uncomfortable journey ever, which there's no space, no nothing, but they had more seats for passengers to sit on where they could be more comfortable. But it's not about the seats, it's about passengers getting to and from work safely. Those trains travel up to 100 miles per hour. But since West Midlands Trains overtook the franchise, they uprated it to 110 miles per hour to get services to and from the destination a lot quicker. The reason why the 350-1s and 3s are at 110 miles per hour is because of their suspension. I didn't think the -2s would work as well, but they actually got it fixed and working. Travelling at 100 miles per hour on the West Coast Main Line reduces time and gets their trains to and from their destination a lot slower, as you're taking 10 miles per hour off from your 110 miles per hour. It's like going at 75 miles per hour, it takes forever. Same with 50 miles per hour as well. The Class 350s sometimes run all stops between Wolverhampton and Walsall via Birmingham New Street. That's to maximise the capacity. They run most of the time between Birmingham New Street and Coventry, all stops, via Stetchford, Lea Hall, Marston Green, Birmingham International and so on. They also had Birmingham New Street to Crewe via Stoke-on-Trent as Walsall to Liverpool Lime Street, that ran 2 per day on the Mondays to Fridays. Crewe to Birmingham New Street via Stoke-on-Trent was once a day on the weekdays in the morning. They also ran a Crewe to London Euston via Birmingham New Street and Northampton. That was to start the new direct services, but then West Midlands Trains overtook the franchise and made the timetables a lot more frequent and saves people changing at stations. Crewe to Euston via Birmingham New Street, Northampton ran in each direction. One in the morning at 6:49 and the other one in the other direction from Euston to Crewe at 20:49. That includes last all stops of the night from Birmingham New Street to Wolverhampton and continuing to Penkridge, Stafford and Crewe at 23:09. The train from Birmingham New Street to Crewe via Stoke-on-Trent ran once a day, Mondays to Saturdays, 19:01 on Mondays to Fridays, and 20:36 on Saturdays only. It was 1 train per hour for Alsager, Kidsgrove and stone in each direction. Now I'm going to talk to you about London Midland and how their services were. Their services were absolutely crap, because I'll tell you for a few facts why. And I'm not going to lie to you here, and passengers will agree with me on this. The reason why there were poor services is because they didn't make improvements for over 10 years. They've had that franchise and have not made any improvements at all. They might have made improvements to the train stations, getting free entertainment on board the train, refurbishing the trains for the Class 170 Turbo Stars, which look very nice. In fact, Cross Country 170s did have them as well, refurbished. The Class 350-1s kept their seats in blue from the Silverlink service, which was back in 2005. And I think that's appalling as well. And also keeping the 350-1s in a blue colour for that train. And obviously they can't change the colour around, I don't think, because it'd be hard to tell. They didn't have any plug sockets at all for the 350-1s. The 350-3s did make an improvement by 10 extra trains coming into service for the 4 coaches. It was a good thing operating the trains to 110 miles per hour to make things a lot easier. They had plug sockets, table seats. They had first class as well for charging phones. They had 2 toilets. And another thing I want to tell you about London Midland and the poor franchise is because they couldn't fix the toilets at all. They were too lazy not to get the toilets repaired. They only had 2 toilets. London Midland didn't even be bothered to refurbish the trains at all. All they did was the Class 170s. That is it. But speaking of all of times, they haven't done anything else. They made promises but false promised. Not like Richard Branson back in Virgin Trains made the full promises and he stuck to it and done a great job back at the start of the 21st century. Looking at London Midland and also the Class 150s, 153s as well in those Sprinter family, they only had trains travelling up to 75 miles per hour. They had trains that were old. London Midland uniforms were absolutely useless. It's like wearing it to school in grey trousers, which is what I used to do. But looking at it, the colours and the doors were grey. It was absolutely useless. It might have been a nice colour, but it wasn't that good service. I mean, for that London Euston to Crewe via the Trent Valley and Stoke-on-Trent, they could have put Burnham New Street to Crewe via Stoke-on-Trent 1 train per hour. But Westman's Trains improved that timetable by changing it around because they knew what they were doing. But London Midland didn't. Because looking at it, they've got a train to connect from Crewe to Stafford, then Stafford to Euston via the Trent Valley. They've got that train to connect. I mean, nobody from Alsager, Kidsgrove and Stone is going to go all the way to Milton Keynes Central and London Euston. Nobody's going to go all the way. Most people use Virgin trains to Stafford or Stoke-on-Trent, change there. They use it most often. London Midland from Wolverhampton to Shrewsbury on a Sunday, not running the service and taking it off is awful. Having Arriva Trains Wales to run that franchise, to run that route every 2 hours with a 1-coach train between Wolverhampton and Shrewsbury on a Sunday every 2 hours at 6 minutes past the hour on an odd hour is awful. It's appalling. Every 2 hours on a Sunday from Burnham New Street to Hereford in both directions is ridiculous. And this is why people get annoyed. There's more passengers. It's not a reliable service. Birmingham New Street to London Euston via Northampton is worse. 1 train per hour for Hampton and Arden, Berkswell, Canley. But obviously that is a Sunday service. Penkridge, 1 train per hour on the Sunday service, not a big deal. But that's what the service would be. Acton Bridge, no services at all. No services on a Sunday is disgrace. It's disgusting. And finally, trains calling at Stetford, Lee Hall, 1 train an hour. That is a Sunday service as well. The good thing I want to say about trains running at every hour is because it's Sunday and it's the same as the buses, they're doing a good job at it. But I'm telling you now, this isn't where the buses don't run on a Sunday and London Midland can't be asked to run their services on Sunday too. There's also another station I want to talk about, Polesworth. They don't run and call trains at that station at all. They only call 1 train per day between Northampton and Crewe. 1 train per day. The good thing about London Midland though is every 10 minutes between Longbridge and Four Oaks, the Snow Hill lines that run on Mondays to Saturdays in the day is frequent. The bad thing about London Midland between Birmingham New Street and Shrewsbury as well, it's got 2, 3 and 4 coaches. It ain't enough. 2 and 3 coaches isn't enough. 4 coaches is. Because the Class 196 Civities, when they come into West Midlands Railway very, very soon, they're going to have more coaches and passengers are going to be well happy. More services and more staff running the route. Oh, and talking of staff and poor service, lots of cancellations for London Midland. And that's a lack of staff as well. Also, delay with pay, 30 minutes or more, disgusting. Has to be rail replacement bus services or wait an hour. Also, if you've got a passenger taken ill, you call in all stops after 8 minutes delay. Get you there quicker. When you've got people that need that station. Also, by looking at it as well, you have train faults. You leave it 8 minutes and then you say this service has been cancelled. The Class 350s always want to be on time 24/7, and it's not all about the Class 350s though. Because if they're late, and London Midland delay each other. When they come late, they want to get back in front of the on-time train. It's just spiteful. It's spiteful how they're selfish and they delay trains. And it's like the Scotland services have been delayed quite a lot because of the Rugy Tram Valley service delaying it because they came in late and then get back in front. It's not fair. When it's all stops, London Midland want to go next. But I'm telling you now, whoever's non-stop or got less stops should go first. Anyway, that is the end of my London Midland, and I just want to say as well before I go, thank you for watching the video today, and I hope you've learned everything from it and what I said. And also, after London Midland finished the franchise, thank God, Abellio overtook the franchise and have made massive improvements. I will show you the next video, which will be West Midlands trains, because they've made massive improvements to the services and the trains. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching and good night.